Someone wrote to me and asked about wanting to be more spiritual, wanting to know God, wanting to feel that connection and wanting to understand it and have a real tangible knowing of it happening. And this is really funny if you think about it. And I had a conversation with someone about this recently who really understands this and can laugh about it with me. We seem to get caught in these stories of what's spiritual. What is a spiritual being? What do they look like? How do they present themselves? How do they show up in this experience of life? And we have these ideas in our head about what a spiritual person looks like. We can reach for these stories of others that are apparently spiritual or enlightened or awake or whatever you want to call it. And the idea is there that they're silent, that they're peaceful, that they're loving, that they always present in a certain way, that they never have an unkind thing to say, they never show emotion, there's never temper or anger, they don't lust, they don't drink, there's just lists of ideas of what a spiritual person looks like. And it's important to recognize that those are all stories. They're ideas that we hold or concepts that we hold about what this thing called being spiritual or awake looks like. And none of it's true. Remember, everything happening here is thought. It's thought playing out. When the curse words come out of the mouth, that is as equally amount of part of God as when the loving prayer comes out of the mouth. It is only the mind that gives the duality to it and calls it sinful or loving. And that's not true. All of this moves in and out of the emptiness, which is God. How do I know I'm being the most spiritual I can be? Because that's what's showing up. There's no separation in any of this. The mind wants to keep continuing to do that. To place ideas and concepts and conditioning on what spirituality looks like. And this, of course, just keeps the seeker alive, because the seeker moves to one person and says, well, they're not spiritual enough, and then the seeker moves to the next person who looks a little more spiritual. Maybe they end every sentence they say with namaste, or they dress the part, or they carry themselves the part. You look at anyone who has been known as a spiritual entity, and there's some quote-unquote human failing behind that. They were a womanizer, they're a smoker, they drink too much alcohol, they like prostitutes, whatever it is, it's found and it's pointed to. And then they're less spiritual, and they fall off of this pedestal that they've been placed on by the seeker. The seeker says, well, I'm done with Ram Dass. He's an acid dropper. Let me move over here to this one. Let me move over here to this one who appears more spiritual to me. I can follow what he teaches because it's coming through in a fashion that lines up with my idea of who he should be. It's all expectation. It's all concepts of the mind. This is done over and over in our vision and idea of what Jesus is, what God is, who we're supposed to be. How I know the spiritual being that I am is meant to be the way that it is because it's what's showing up here. I am the most spiritual, and I am definitely in alignment with the path, equally when I'm washing the dishes as when I'm scrubbing the toilets. My purpose is whatever is arising in this now moment. It's fascinating and so beautiful when it's recognized that all of this is God. Look at God making the waffles. Look at God cleaning the dishes, folding the laundry, scolding the children, losing his temper, being jealous, being angry. Look at God, Godding. Nothing can be offended in that. It's showing up perfectly the way it's showing up. Ideas and concepts about what it should look like or what caused the pain, not what's showing up. You sit with a beautiful person who offers satsang, and maybe you follow their car and they go to a bar and you think, well, I'm done with them. Somebody who's beautifully awakened shouldn't be drinking alcohol. They should be wearing robes and barefoot. They should be living in a cave. They should have no things. Of course they're not married with children. No, they don't drink. These are our ideas. Each one of them can be met with understanding and let go of you. Let go of the idea and the concept and the suffering of what your guru should look like. Your guru is showing up in every single second. This moment it's a cat, that moment it's a dog, the other moment it's your child, then it's your boss. It's the person that crosses in front of your car and cuts you off. It's the one that takes the last $20 out of the ATM and the only ATM in the town. It's the person who pisses you off. It's the person who hugs you and loves you. It's the one that shows up with a meal. It's every single thing that shows up in front of you. The concept and idea about what this thing called awakening is what trips us up. It's the proverbial carrot being pulled in front of a donkey. It's the belief in who you are. It's the understanding in what you are that keeps all this separation happening. It has nothing to do with that apparent other in front of you that you want to call your teacher. Everything that's arising in and out of this life thing is a teacher and a student. It is both, and it is neither. It is experiencing, and no one doing it. It's perfection. Your perfection. This is perfection. The idea that someone sitting in front of you can be more awake than someone else is your story about it. The idea that you can sit in front of someone and that thereby is going to make you more spiritual is your story about it. The idea, oh look, we've got all the technology going off at once. The idea that the teacher should show up in a way that you understand, that you can accept. Again, concepts, ideas. Have you ever sat somewhere and people watch? I love to do this. I sit in a mall or take my child somewhere and he's doing an activity and I'm totally engaged in people watching. And what I love the most about this experience of people watching is the recognition that there are no others here. There I am. There I am. There I am. There I am. I'm all of this and none of it at the same time. And that noticing, there's the ability to recognize that no one's doing anything right or wrong. It just is the way it is. It is movement happening and no one doing it. And all of this is rising in and out of emptiness. So as you move through this experience of life, and you tag those that you say are more awake or get it better than somebody else, recognize that that's just your story, your idea. There's no one here that's more awake or less awake than another, because nobody awakens. Nothing awakens. Nothing changes, yet everything is change. It's the ideas and the concepts and the thoughts that are moving and flowing about what is. That's all. That's all that's happening here. Because what is here has always been here. It's our ideas about it that are changing. It's why you can meet one person one day and think what a beautiful soul they are, and then meet them again and think how extraordinarily uncomfortable it is to be near them. What changed? We want to say they changed. Look how much they've changed. Gosh, it's so hard to be around them now. They've really changed. Really? Is that true? What is happening here is exactly as it should be. Whatever is arising in and out of this emptiness, all of it is a beautiful mirage when none of it's believed. I was sharing on Facebook yesterday how I was working from home on Friday yesterday, which I often do, and the house was empty except for my beautiful little kitten who was purr-snoring at my lap, and I saw something move out of the corner of my eye, which I often do, and I looked up, and there stood a young man, teenager, with a ball and a mitt in his hand, and he's kind of throwing the ball up, and I'm like, can I help you? Is there something you need? And he says, yeah, I'm looking for someone to throw the ball with. And I said, well, honey, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. I've got some things I need to get done. And he says, all right, and off he goes. And it was as real as my son doing that. So the psychic thing is still doing what it's doing, this connection with what seems to be here, this connection with these others. And yet what's being noticed is that there was no desire to find out more. There was no desire to try and go into the story of why that was arising, why that happened, why he appeared, who he was connected with. It doesn't matter. Life is always going to bring it the way that it brings it. It's the ideas and concepts around it that want to make it something else. Life simply is happening, or it appears to be happening. There's happenings happening here, moving in and out of this emptiness. They belong to no one. And truly they are meaningless, less the meaning that is given to them by the mind. The mind says, well, you should have found out whose son that was. Maybe he just passed and he needed you. Maybe you needed to find out where he belonged and who he was trying to find. Ideas, ideas, ideas. It happened perfectly. There was no push or pull in any of it. If that in a level of detail needs or wants to come through, it will. There's no driving of this. It's just a pleasant noticing. And such a peacefulness in this pleasant noticing without any drive to think that I'm doing something here, that there's a cause and effect making this happen. Or even better than that, that I'll be more spiritual by doing something with it. It just is. It just is. I leave you with that, and I send you a tremendous amount of love. However this moment is arising, whatever is appearing to happen here, happening's happening. Just enjoy as they show up. Just notice it and smile. Just let it be the way that it's being, as if you had a choice. Life is beautifully lifing, and you are life, moving in and out of emptiness. Until next time, with love.